All righty, class, good afternoon. This is almost as good as being right before lunch. I'm right before the raffle, okay? I'm Scott Gall, I'm Director of Economic Education at Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. I go by Scott because my dad was George, he was senior, I'd have been junior. My middle name's Prescott, so I shortened it, I'm Scott. Been at the Fed for about 12 years now. Just so you figure out sort of who is this guy in front of you and why is he talking about financial education. The 6 years before that, I worked for Anderson Consulting and State and Local Strategy Program, looking at how technology can enable teaching and learning. And then before that, I was a teacher and administrator in the Newton Public Schools in Newton, Massachusetts. Just so happens, a young man who was at Newton High School North while I was there happens to be sitting here as well, Michael Andelman. What's really interesting about today and the program that the Mass Jumpstart is providing is that there's a number of people who've been working in economic education and financial education for a long time. You just saw Dan speak with you, but there's a bunch of other people who also are participating in a number of programs. We have members of the K-16 committee of the Mass Financial Education Collaborative. I don't know if you had a chance to meet our executive director, but she was here earlier. Ingrid and Carol are members of the K-16 group. Matt Paradise does a lot of work in the city, and particularly working with credit fairs. So there's a lot of relationships that have been built sort of on the eastern side of the state related to this, and we're so glad to be here to be able to present. Just to give you a little story of sort of how things work, went upstairs and listened to a wonderful bank that was doing some great community work with young people. Just last Friday, we had an opportunity to, at the bank, to host 300 students across sort of in the greater Boston area for a play that was called Money Matters. And Money Matters was a play that was the idea of a savings bank. Cambridge Savings Bank had a summer employment program. And in their summer employment program, they try to get the students to do different types of things. And so a couple years ago, they hired these young people to work in the summer to interview people in their community about issues, concerns they had with money. Those interviews became dialogues, which became a play that was just performed last Friday at the Boston Fed. That's an example of community-mindedness, student empowerment, student engagement, student education that just is to die for. So to the extent that we can start to think about how we can use the various resources and work together and not worry about whether we have enough piece of the pie's big enough. The ignorance about financial education is just way too large. There's just too much work to do to worry about, my little bailiwick, etc. So I'm hoping that, with the experience that I heard from the bank upstairs a little while ago, that several banks will get together, community banks, and think about, okay, where are we? Where are we not? Where do we need to be? And let's figure out how we can do that. I am, so full transparency, Vice Chair of the Mass Council of Economic Education. But I sit here on the board working with the Mass Jumpstart Coalition because we need to be working together to collaborate. The issues are just too big. The problems are just not insurmountable, but we can overcome them if we work together. So there's a Mass Financial Education Collaborative is Eastern Mass phenomenon right now, except we do have some members from out the way here, Ingrid. And so it is an opportunity for people who want to participate in action planning around financial education. So with no further ado, let's dig a little bit deeper about maybe what resources really exist out there, because my job today is to talk about Federal Reserve System resources. So you may or may not know that the Federal Reserve System is a quasi-public entity. The public part of it is in Washington, D.C. You may know a gentleman named Bernanke, or may have heard the name Greenspan, and some people may even know the name Volcker. If you know about McChesney Martin, then you really know history, and I don't need to talk to you. So at the board, there are resources. So I wasn't sure what kind of group we would have here today, but it's quite eclectic, so I think that maybe I chose the right things. So if you go to the Federal Reserve Board website, they have on the side a piece called credit cards. And what I'm going to show you is a bunch of different kinds of examples of things that exist, and also show you how to get to them quickly. From an individual site that I'll show you at the end. So here's an interesting piece. It's an interactive tool. It's on the board's website to learn more about your offer. So understanding the terms and fees on your credit card offer. And please open. You son of a gun. All right, maybe it's up here somewhere. Maybe that's the problem. Bum, 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 bum. Nope. Come on, open up, buddy. All right, I think I played around and I opened it up before, and now I'm going to have to go through these things and find it. Or my link's not working, and I will kill myself. Not really. Come on. Okay, what's the problem? What could the problem be? Wireless is connected. Oh, these are different ones. Why won't that open?
Open in the window.
Let me see if I do a different one. Huh. Okay. I will skip that one for now, and we'll get back to it. Okay. I just don't understand that. Thank you. Now it's displaying oddly here, so I have to tell you that that's strange. What should be happening is that you go over these things and there's a description, an interactive description of each one of the things that we're going into. So let's try that one more time. I'll go down to here. I'll go to here. Okay, go to here. Right here? Yeah, it's still displaying. Well, there's an interactive component here that when you hit these numbers, they actually tell you what a transaction fee is, what a penalty fee is, how to avoid paying interest on purpose. So in other words, you just touch on it and it has a pop-up. And a pop-up describes what that category really is. It's sort of a glossary of the actions. Don't know why it's behaving like that. See if this one will work. Oh, here you go. This is what it's supposed to look like. So this is your credit card account statement. In other words, you get this material. What does it look like for some teachers working with this, for themselves, or also for, yeah, it's not doing it though. When you go over here, it would tell you what the summary account was, what the payment for information is, and what that is, and it's not acting correctly. Maybe I'll come back to that later. Okay? Here's a different site. This is called Building Wealth. This is a product that was created by our Dallas bank. The number of lesson plans. And so talk about budgeting, investing, saving, etc. And so this is what the lesson plan looks like. Again, connects to the national standards, talks about the instructional objectives, how much time you might spend on it, the types of materials you would need to have to facilitate the class. Okay, gives you visuals that will go with it. And then, along with that, sorry, I'm going to go down here and see if I can do that again. So, and along with that from the Dallas Bank, they also provide an interactive CD. Okay, this is working right, good. So here, if you go to Building Wealth, if you want a printed version of it, you could get it there. If you want to order a classroom set, you could get it there. You want to play the interactive version. I could take a chance and try to pull that out on you, but it's, let's see if that'll take forever or not. What they did is they took Building Wealth, which is about savings, investing, and budgeting, and turned it into sort of animated avatars that talk you through this whole process. And what it basically is a worksheet. So it's the ability to do sort of asset development on sheets specifically. And that's the downloadable, and having a little interactive problem here. Okay? There is, in fact, a CD that goes with it. So I guess in introduction, there are 11 banks, and each one of the banks have a cadre of individuals who are economic educators, each of which work at different sort of age groups, et cetera. This is from our New York bank, and they created a competition to create sort of a 4 to 10 minute video on different kind of topics. And this is one, and I hope this will work, called Credit Costs. What we've discovered in the Mass Financial Education Collaborative is the best way to capture people is to tell a story. And we have a gentleman named George Ariano who is a filmmaker. And each year we introduce our annual Financial Education Month program with a video about somebody who's had some issue or crisis around money. So that if you want to grasp people, usually a story will do that. Our New York bank has moved to a sort of whole nother level and have gotten other students to create these. Oh, do we have audio here? Yeah. Is there? If not, I have a speaker I can stick onto this. If not, I have an additional speaker I can put on. Okay. That's okay. But I think I might. Okay, good.
Here you go.
There you go.
Plugged in?
Yep.
There you go. That should do it.
We mean it's currently unavailable. Okay, all right. All righty. Okay. All right. Let's see if it's everyone as opposed to anyone. Okay. Why do things work perfectly at my seat? Okay, I can't, okay. What the New York Bank has done is they've gotten college kids to create 4 to 7 minute videos, and the videos are on financial education. One piece on credit costs, this young black man talks about how he got a credit card, how he didn't understand the concept of compound interest, how he did understand how much he was spending and not spending, but he had no clue about the idea of compound interest, and then also not spending not paying on time, and how he'd gotten himself in this unbelievable kind of escalating circle of financial problems. It did win a first place. Right. Disappointing. Okay. Now I hope these are... So, our Kansas City Bank has created what's called core concept cards. And this is a particular tool that gets you looking at a glossary of sort of core concepts, both in economics and personal finance. And that's not very big. And then they create a multitude of concepts like asset, bond, budget, deficit, compound interest. And then they've created different kinds of games that go with that. Oh, sorry. Let's see if this will work, okay? So that as a teacher, the way this works is you sort of got the word and you turn it over and there's a description. And what teachers have done is then broken the kids up into groups and had them compete, being able to define the different kind of concepts like budget deficit, business cycle, central banking system, collateral. So they're economic and personal finance concepts that are together, and then they have the definition on the back. And then there's different ways that you can create particular games related to that. Again, that's on our Kansas City site. On the Fed site, we provided the Boston Fed. We created Consumer Financial Emergency Survival Kit. This is for anybody who's a consumer, a student, a teacher, anybody. And it's both in English and in Spanish. And there are sort of multiple layers of it. You might have gotten a copy back there. But it basically goes through the Reader's Digest basic concepts from auto loans all the way down to repossession, overdrafts, foreclosures, debt collection. This is not the total information about it, but it's the basic information that can then lead you to reputable resources to get additional information. It's downloadable. We have copies of it, physical copies of it. Again, it's in English and it's in Spanish. This is bugging me. I'm going to see if I can get back in there one more time. The one website that can take you to all of these things all in one place, so I think this is probably the best thing if I don't do anything else here, is federalreserveeducation.org. This will take you to all of these resources that you saw or you didn't see or you might like to see in the future. And so if you look here, you can go to classroom resources and it breaks it down into lesson plans, academic competitions, etc., then by grade, and then by content. Personal finance would be pertinent here. Then what it will do is give you a drop down of, first one's in numbers, A through whatever all, in terms of the different kinds of products, the audience that it's available for, the grade level for whom it's appropriate, the topic itself, and then the type. And we go anywhere from the classic publication to actually now whiteboard activities, which I'm afraid if I try to bring up here probably won't work as well. But they're highly interactive. And the deal is that someone spoke about this before when we're trying to think about young people and where they are, they're here. They're here doing things with their hands. They're really digital per se with their digits, or they're looking at screens like this. So we're trying to figure out how we can create products for that. Anybody here use iPads in the classroom? Very good. A number of schools are doing that. They're using BYOD, bring your own devices. So all the feds are trying to figure out, okay, we've created these materials. They're quality materials. I'm sorry you couldn't see some of them because there's really some really good work that's being done there. But then they're saying, well, how do we make it available on the kind of devices that they have? How do we make it available for kind of tools? People use whiteboards? Teachers are here, use whiteboards? Okay, so our Kansas City bank, our Dallas bank, and our, St. Louis bank are creating whiteboard activities. So if you were to go into those banks, I'll show you how to do that, or you were to go directly to the concept of whiteboard, because that's the type, you will find that there's now material being created for you. One of our banks, the Cleveland Bank, maybe this will work, has done sort of one of those rough whiteboard kinds of things, and there's one on credit cards. Maybe that'll work here. It seems like I can get into some level of the internet, but not all of it. Please. I'd like one to work. Okay, it's called a drawing board. Have you seen that where they do the work on a board? Oh God, I might have one actually work. That would be nice. So scroll down a little bit to your credit score. It's rather long. Oh my God, please work. Now, I want you to know that I worked on how technology can enable teaching and learning. And this is an example of, I'm glad I had it in paper, because the Fed, how do you put it? The Fed is very protective and secure. But they did give me a little card, you know, Verizon card, so I could go out and connect everywhere. We discovered that there's kind of a metal base that we're in here. So this organization may be even more difficult for me to get out to places than others. Although the other gentleman who had his laptop back there was able to get and do things. Might be my computer. Yeah. Might be my computer.
The internet challenge in Western Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Not something we're going to talk about.
Right.
Everybody in this lobby knows about it.
Right. But.
So we have like
Right. All right. So I guess I'll show you how to use federalreserveeducation.org, because that'll get you to everywhere, and then we'll call it a day. But I usually like to show the videos because they're kind of the warm, grasping piece. They get people interested in the stories and engaged. But there is a drawing board. So they do this quick little drawing board on your credit score. It takes about 7 minutes, and it talks about all the concepts of the credit score. There are also economic concepts here as well, because that's another reason why we do exist. So let me just go back to federalreserveeducation.org. That's the Boston Fed. Go over here. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Boston Fed, and then we'll be done and we can do drawings. Or maybe not. Okay, I didn't know how lucky I was before. Okay. On your slip, there is at the very end www.federalreserveeducation.org. And in it, if you go into the website, which was there, you'll see a map of the Fed up on one side. So in other words, if you knew something came from the Boston Bank, you could hit the first district, it would take you there. Oh, sorry, that's not, sorry. Another way you could go into federalreserveeducation.org is by age group. You could search by age group. Another way you could go in is search by title. If you knew, like Boston had banking basics, you could go in and do that as well. So you could get into each one of these things by topic, age, and type. So, and location. There's a multitude of resources. The reason I kind of wanted to dig down a little bit further is because when you talk about the clearinghouse like Dan did, you didn't get a sense of like what's really there, and I was hoping you could get a sense of what's really in this. But you have computers at home, and they probably work better than the one that I'm using today, and you can get into those particular products. If you have any questions about the products that we have here, my name is George.Guild at bos.frb.org. Everything, George.Guild, like guild, G-U-I-L-D, at bos.frb.org. And so you could, basically everything we have is free. There are class sets. In some cases, we're moving from regular publications to PDFs, but we may still have some copies of those publications because we still have them, although you see them as PDF. So I guess with no further ado, I'd like to have done better with the technology, but to let you know that the Federal Reserve is a resource, free resources for young people. And then, of course, if you're an economist, there's a whole nother side to the Boston Bank that has material that is relevant to economists, etc. So. Sorry that the technology didn't quite work the way I wanted to do, but I want you to know that we are a resource for you, that we are in we're a resource for all of New England, and that in this particular case, there are some good products, some of which you've seen up there. We have a few things in Spanish that would be available. One is the survival kit itself. Another one is Know Before You Go. There's a series for credit cards, and Know Before You Go for getting a mortgage. Those both are in Spanish. And then we also have Identity Theft, which is a publication, and that as well is in Spanish. So I thank you very much. Sorry technology didn't quite work as well, but maybe you'll invite me back and next time I'll do a better job. Sure. Thank you.